the OnePlus Nord 2, right? They've got so many Nords. I'm getting confused with all the names. I've had this for, I'd say, about a week now. It's a very good device, and I'll tell you why. But before I do, I'm just going to run over what it's offering for those of you who, haven't kept up and haven't watched the videos yet. So it has a 6.43-inch Full HD 90Hz AMOLED display. We've got a triple rear-facing camera setup. Now, I say triple with quotation marks because we've got a 50-megapixel primary camera, which is the Sony IMX766 with optical image stabilization. We've got an 8-megapixel ultrawide camera. Then there's a 2-megapixel monochrome camera, obviously, 32-megapixel selfie camera, MediaTek Dimensity 1200 AI, 8 or 12 gigabytes of LPDDR4X RAM, either 128 or 256 gigabytes of UFS 3.1 storage, 4,500 milliamp dual cell battery, 65 watt warp charging, which is included in the box. You've got stereo speakers. You've got Gorilla Glass 5 with they've got a fiberglass polymer frame, what they call, which is basically plastic, similar to what we had seen on the OnePlus 9. But the most interesting thing for me is the starting price. It starts at just £399, and it's available across like John Lewis, Amazon, everywhere, right? And that's obviously a very competitive price point where that device is coming in. The Nord 1 was very successful for OnePlus, one of the best selling devices in Europe on Amazon. So they obviously had a big uptake for that device, and they've kind of followed it up with this, the Nord 2. Now in India, it's actually coming in even more competitive. So it's around 28,000 rupees. I believe they've got like a 6 gigabyte of RAM version, and that's like, if we convert it right now, it's around £280. So you're looking at very, very competitive, right? Now, in terms of my opinions so far, I think let me just put this out there, right? OnePlus and many other brands love the term flagship killer. I don't know why they're so obsessed with it. It's so old. I know OnePlus used to use it initially.
I mean, they're the ones who started it.
They're the ones who started it, but it's just, for me, it's just like, oh, come on, like, why are you guys obsessed with flagship, the term flagship killer? And now you do have flagships, like the OnePlus 9 and the 9 Pro. So are you killing your own flagships? I mean, that's what I did in my video, because I was just like, how do I review this device properly? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to compare it to the OnePlus 9. To give you an idea of like, okay, this is what, in my opinion, somewhat the OnePlus 9 should have been, because OnePlus, if we go back to the roots, they used to offer devices roughly half the price of flagships, right? With some compromises, granted, but, ticks the boxes for most of the people. And I think that's what the Nord does. Now, in my experience, I think 90Hz display is really good. It doesn't get too bright, but again, I'm not expecting it at that price. The camera surprised me because it's got the 50 megapixel IMX766. Now, that is the same sensor that's on the ultra-wide camera of the OnePlus 9 and the OnePlus 9 Pro. Okay, so it's a decent sensor. What's really interesting that I found was that it gave better low light performance, and I couldn't figure this out, but then I realized that I had missed out that the fact that it's got optical image stabilization, whereas the OnePlus 9 does not. Okay, so the OnePlus 9 does not have optical image stabilization, whereas the Nord 2 does, again, at £400.
Okay, why? So another question, because you've used this device, is it's got the Dimensity 1200. Does that play any bit to the camera processing itself for this device as well?
So they've called it the Dimensity 1200 AI, right? Now, the reason why it's called AI is because there's been some AI work that's been done to optimize it for the Nord 2, right? And a lot of that is in the cameras. So what you've got is you've got some good processing, but another thing that's interesting as well, is that you've probably not watched my video. So, obviously the preparation work that he does is not great. But anyway, if you look at the video and you look at the interface of the cameras, so if you look at the software, it's very different between the OnePlus Nord 2 and the OnePlus 9. So the OnePlus 9, you've got the whole Hasselblad thing and you've got the Oxygen OS. But if you look at the camera interface of the OnePlus Nord 2, it's exactly the same as what you see on Oppo devices. So what that is obviously hinting is that OnePlus, you know, because of the merger with Oppo, is now we're starting to see these hints of Oppo come in, Color OS kind of come in. So the interface overall is still Oxygen OS. You've still got, you know, the big headers and, you know, just the general feel and things, but you've got a lot of these Color OS features now integrated in. And as I said, the camera app is pretty much what you get on Color OS, which means the processing is also different to what you get on the OnePlus 9.
Okay. Wow. All right. I mean, I haven't finished watching your video. I have seen parts of it, but I think at least just from your basic interpretation of the device is that at least part of you feels like this should be the device that OnePlus should have released as the OnePlus 9, or at least in some, I don't know, some semblance of what the OnePlus 9 should be, as opposed to what we had with the OnePlus 9. Or do you think, this is now where my question is, do you think that OnePlus should really just play in this pool instead, and then they can always release a Pro if they want to, but this, like the price range you gave, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing from you and from others, it looks like the device is really good. So should they just play this pool and not waste time delving in that price range?
Yeah, I mean, I think the OnePlus 9 Pro still has its place, and, you know, for the Uber enthusiasts who, you know, kind of want all of those features but still want that Oxygen OS skin and, you know, that whole OnePlus vibe, I think there's still a place for it. For me, the OnePlus 9 kind of sits in the middle in this very sort of weird area because, you know, now you could get the OnePlus Nord 2, which is, you know, design-wise, build-wise, it's exactly the same, right? Pretty much. You know, you're getting the same materials, you're getting the same premium feel. Yes, you're getting a few things that are better on the OnePlus 9, but in my opinion, it kind of sits in a bit of a weird place, right? So you've got the true flagship, which is the Pro, and this sits in the kind of in the middle, and then you've got the Nord 2, which I think is going to way outsell the 9, easy.
So basically, you're saying this is the same thing that Apple had between the 12 mini and the SE.
Yeah, pretty much. So you've got the 12 mini that kind of sits in this sort of weird area, which is, you know, yes, it's going to sell, but it's not going to sell a huge amount. But then you've got the SE, which is going to like fly off, and apparently there's rumors that it's going to be coming early 2020. The new
2022,
iPhone SE, 2022, the iPhone SE. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, the Nord 2, it's, you know, battery life's really good. You've got the 65-watt charging out of the box, 0 to 100% in around 30 minutes. It's got stereo speakers as well, again, at this price. And, you know, it's available straight on Amazon, so you can pre-order on Amazon. And I think that's one of the big things, because when you've got the accessibility of somewhere like Amazon, and, you know, you've got places like John Lewis here in the UK, you've got that peace of mind where you're not going to like, oh, I'm just buying it directly from OnePlus. Maybe you're not as familiar with OnePlus. As soon as you've got it on Amazon, boom, you know. Yes, I'm sure OnePlus are having to pay Amazon a lot, but yeah, you're getting a very, very good device. I can definitely recommend it, but this sort of area is getting very competitive because we've obviously got things like the Poco F3. We've had the Realme GT, which, you know, again, started off at that price. It's now kind of increased a little bit, but generally this sort of price segment between £300 to £400 is becoming very competitive. It's not in the US, right? The Nord 2. Is that correct?
No.
Okay,
no,
that's interesting. Wonder why they've not put it in the US, but it's good for me because that means not many US reviewers are covering the video, which means my video will do even better. A very selfish way to think about things, but hey.
Yeah, selfish indeed.
I hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to hear the full podcast episode, then that will be linked down below. And if you want to see more clips like this, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss them. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf Speaks, and I'll see you next time.